There are no truly terrible lenses in my opinion, because I think every lens has a subjective value that someone in the world might like. That being said, my subject for today's video, the TTArtisan 21mm f1.5, is the worst lens I have ever personally tested, which is not to say it's flat out bad, but I have a lot of reasons as to why this lens is not for me. Let's explore whether it's for you. On paper, the TTArtisan 21mm f1.5 is everything you would want in a wide-angle lens. It's got a fast f1.5 aperture, attractive styling, is easily adaptable to different cameras, and is quite affordable at just under $400. So what is there not to like? Well, to start, if you're considering a wide-angle lens at f1.5, the expectation is that the performance wide open is solid or at least acceptable. However, with this lens, that is not the case. Wide open at f1.5, this 21mm doesn't perform as I'd hoped it would. When using a wide angle lens, I want to see a relatively sharp image across the frame, usually with a deep depth of field. Unfortunately, with this lens, the entire image across the frame has quite a bloomy look with a soft glow to it. It's pushing the boundary between a cool vintage look and a lens that is plain not sharp. This softness bothered me the most in night shots because that is the situation where I think it would be the most useful. On top of being soft, light sources do not render very pleasingly wide open, and the further from the center you get, the worse the image feels. Which for shots where the subject isn't located in the center of the frame, but takes up the entire frame like a shot of a building, it sort of makes the image feel mushy and uneven. Foregoing shooting this lens wide open, let's take a look at how it performs at higher f-stops. From f2 and onwards, it feels almost like a different lens. Sharpness and performance does improve overall, and it is possible to get shots that look quite sharp and more in line with what you would expect from a wide lens. I shot a lot at f2, especially at night, to see if I could achieve the wide, shallow depth of field look that should be a distinctive advantage to a lens like this. I was again slightly disappointed since yes, with the right shot you can get this look, but I found the bokeh on this lens to be kind of distracting in a negative way. Even when using a helicoid adapter on my Fujifilm X-H2S to achieve a closer than standard minimum focus, I only exaggerated my issue with the bokeh. The default minimum focus is 0.7 meters, which is average for a wide lens, but it is not particularly close. This made it harder to take advantage of the look at a fast aperture on my Leica M10. If you like shooting at deeper f-stops, a lot of the issues I've mentioned can fly under the radar, but that also to me defeats the purpose of this lens being so fast, because there are similarly priced deeper stop lenses that are smaller and easier to carry around. I also found a couple of images where moire was fairly prominent, but depending on what you shoot, this may not be an issue for you. Now, before we take a look at the overall usability of the lens, I want to take a quick break to thank today's sponsor, Motion Array. Motion Array is a marketplace with a ton of video templates, stock footage, photos, music, and sound effects. I've been using them for the last few months to save myself a ton of time in editing, using simple things like backgrounds for graphics, such as this crumpled paper background I've used in a few of my camera reviews. They also have everything from LUTs to stop motion graphics of letters made out of magazine cutouts. Most recently, Motion Array teamed up with designer David Milan on a bunch of colorful, distinctive assets that feel really high quality for how easy they are to use. They also recently launched their new Motion Array Hub, which contains 50 plugins made for all of the major video editors. Each plugin is complemented by an easy to follow tutorial video, so you can put them to use quickly. I think my favorite effect in the bunch is actually the simple picture-in-picture effect, because this is the kind of thing I have wasted so much time doing in videos throughout my career, and this plugin would have saved me a ton of time. You can get $50 off today on an annual subscription of Motion Array at the first link in the video description. Thank you to Motion Array for making this video possible. When I'm thinking over the usability of a lens, I consider three key factors: portability, handling, and build quality. From a physical standpoint, the TTArtisan 21mm is built really well. The lens is made of all metal and it feels really nice in the hand. The double-edged sword to this is that it's quite heavy at 405 grams. I didn't find it to be too annoying to carry for an entire day, but I do wish the lens itself was slightly shorter to help with the balance in the hand when shooting. The focus ring itself is well dampened and feels very smooth, making it nice to use operationally, which is key for a manual focus only lens. The aperture ring is clicked and I never had any issues with it being at the wrong f-stop due to the aperture ring being bumped while walking around. The main pain points I have from a usability standpoint is the included lens hoods. You get two different types in the box, a square lens hood and a circular lens hood. The square lens hood looks nice, but that is about all it's good for because it does not seem to prevent flare at all and you can't use it with a filter. I don't find that I like how the flares look in almost any situation with this lens, so I wish there was a better solution to prevent them. The circular lens hood allows you to mount 72mm filters onto the front of the lens, which otherwise isn't possible because this lens's front element protrudes past the front diameter of the lens. I appreciate that this is included, but carrying it around and screwing it on when I want to use a filter is not a step I would typically want to go through prior to shooting. This circular hood also does not seem to do much for flare prevention. When I sat down to write this video, the main question I asked myself was, why didn't I like this lens? While it wasn't an amazing performer wide open, I acknowledge that the performance at f2 and above was acceptable and could even be considered solid in the right context. But the reason I kept coming back to my conclusion was that this lens just didn't inspire me to pick it up. I genuinely didn't enjoy the process of using it, which for me is rare. Most lenses I have used have a place in my mind and give me a sense of joy at the idea of creating with them. This 21mm unfortunately did not. No single aspect of this lens is a deal breaker in my opinion, but the collective cons stacked together make this a hard lens to recommend or enjoy using. Considering that this lens is at its best from f2 and up, the alternative 21mm lenses available aren't priced absurdly high, so unless you absolutely need a super fast wide angle lens at this price point, I would consider one of the deeper stop alternative options.